Hello fellow humans and welcome to a replay of one of, if not the most broken tanks in World of Tanks PC, and that is the Object 279 Early. Now this tank has essentially 300mm of front armor and has no lower plate and no weak spots besides a absolutely tiny cupola that is very, very difficult to hit. Now, thank you for Dan for submitting this replay on the What Replay site so I can use it. And this vehicle, as you just saw, bounty equipment as well. If you use bounty equipment on this vehicle, you can get up to over 3,100 DPM with Brothers in Arms as well. 0.33 dispersion on a heavy tank, and you can get up to a top speed of 45 kilometers an hour with very good ground resistance. So not only are you playing a tank that is impenetrable, essentially, to most tanks, especially if slightly hull down, which, you know, is gonna be very easy in a lot of cases. Just hide it behind a pile of rubble, and then you'll be perfectly fine. And you only have 5 degrees of gun depression, which is definitely a downside of the vehicle. However, in most cases, you don't really need that anyway, because you can just sit on flat ground, and there is nothing the enemy will be able to do. Especially if it's a tier 8, and in a game like this one, there is absolutely nothing they will be able to do. Even tier 10 are going to have a very tough time to fight this vehicle. Now, so what do you have when you combine a vehicle that is insanely well armored with 3000 DPM, 440 alpha damage, solid penetration, and, you know, very good, almost medium-like mobility that can only be played by extremely good players, because obviously to get this vehicle you have to go through all the second chapter of missions, which is about as soul-selling as possible. You know, by the time you achieve this vehicle, you've already sold so many of your credits to Wargaming by firing premium rounds the entire time that you have just about enough left to load heat in this tank and shoot it at your heavy tank, because why not? So, obviously, shooting heat at the upper plate of a Tiger is a bit overkill, for that matter. However, you know, once you've achieved this vehicle, there isn't really much you can do, and there isn't really much that is left. So losing 100,000 credits per game is not that bad at that point. Obviously, it's not great, and if you look at the top of the screen, the enemy is shooting premium ammo as well, and they're still not pinning anything. There's only one shot that went through so far, and all that Dan's doing here is like sitting out in the open, basically, peeking when he has a shot, and then going back again. So, yeah, Super Conqueror's got no chance. You only really have those tiny cupolas on top of the vehicle that can be penned if you're frontal. Now, if the tank sort of goes upwards, you can somewhat shoot it into the tracks in the lower plate, which you'll see later. However, other than that, there's nothing you can do at all about this tank, which is interesting. And let's have a look at this game. The Conqueror gets a very nice shot into the cupola, which is not too bad. Now the Conqueror just slightly turns, and the shot does not go in. Now, over 4,000 damage already at this point, and no contest from the enemy, really. Why is Wargaming doing this? I mean, if we look at World of Tanks Blitz, for example, they're not doing that really in tier 10. Obviously, you also have the 1+1 -1 matchmaking, where here it's +-2, so here in World of Tanks PC it's even worse, because this thing has to fight, or tier 8s have to fight this thing. Whereas in World of Tanks Blitz, it's only tier 9s. They're going to get against tier 10s. And there isn't really something like that in Blitz, which is a good thing about it. Now, you also have the Clan Reward Chieftain, the Donkerer, basically, that is available. And that's very much broken as well. I don't really know why Wargaming's keeping this vehicle in this state. Obviously, it would be somewhat unfair to the people that already got it to just nerf it now. However, they've already done that before with the T22 Medium. Remember, all the way back in the day, I think it was called Rampage or something like that. There was a mode, and you could get the T22 Medium tank in that mode. And there was a lot of rigging going on, so because it was basically impossible to get that tank naturally. Some people did it so, because they're insanely good at the game. However, there was a lot of rigging going on in that regard. And then what they basically did is they got rid of the entire mode. Probably not because of the T22, but they just got rid of the entire mode. And then after that, a year or two later, they just nerfed the T22 into the ground, basically, and ruined all of that, because again, the T-22 medium, you couldn't pin its sides at all. So all you had to do is a reverse side scrape off a rock, and you'd bounce 20,000 damage. The enemy's dumb enough to shoot at you twice. So they nerfed that thing. So I don't really understand why they're not doing it with this one. So with the new Italian tank destroyers now coming into the game as well, which are, and the new Italian premium tank as well, that's just weirdly just very... Wargaming is very obsessed with making tanks that are just completely broken in one way or another. They have no weak spots anymore, which is a bit bad because you want to have tanks that have a weak spot. It might not be a very big one, but no tank should be impenetrable, right? However, this thing, for the most part, is. And that's not great. Obviously, 45 kilometers an hour top speed, 3,000 DPM, impenetrable front plate. How do you fight this thing? Well, the ideal way to fight a tank like this is to pray that it's currently devouring some of your teammates and then you can shoot it into the side, because the side armor isn't really that amazing, however it's still strong enough. So that's about the best hope you have against this vehicle, is that hope it doesn't fight you. Maybe you can get a shot into its sides, then you might have somewhat of a chance. Or if you're a tier 10 tank destroyer and you fire some 350mm penetration premium round at it, it might still go through the upper plate because it's about 320mm thick. If you angle it up, then it gets even thicker. However, if you go too far, then the lower plate gets exposed, which is basically non-existent. It's essentially the floor of the vehicle. That is about, I think, 40mm, something like that thick. It's about 120mm effective, and you could just pen straight through that if you expose it too much. Now, Dan has one mark of excellence in this tank, which is very impressive, obviously, because only Super Unicum tryhards, to call them that, play this thing for the most part, because that's how you get it. You have to do insane missions to be able to complete it. You know, like getting 3 aces in a span of 15 battles or something like that. And that's not really great. Now, I'm personally at the Chimera because I just haven't really been playing the game a lot since the second campaign came out. It's mainly because artillery exists, and I'm just like, yo, I'm playing World of Tanks Blitz. I like that game more. It doesn't have artillery. It's easier to carry, pretty much. It's just a lot more fun, and I'm just playing Blitz now. But that's the thing about World of Tanks PC. Like, it could be a great game for a PC setting. Now, obviously, the UI is from 1993 and definitely needs some kind of reworking. However, it could be a good game if Wargaming would actually care and balance tanks properly and, you know, not sell garbage. You know, like, for example, this game doesn't have any avatars or weird anime profile background. That's something. That's very good. Well, thanks PC, so thank you Wargaming for doing that right, at least in this game. And now, as you can see, Dan has pretty much just sat in front of the enemy and shot the entire time. But nothing happened, besides that Yegru that was very much unfortunate because he gained access to the lower plate. And Scorpion doesn't pay attention. This thing's insanely fast. You can just run after people. And the Yegru is now focusing on the Object 263. So now for that, you will need heat rounds because obviously, as you know, the rear of the Yak Panzer 100 can't be penned with 258mm of standard penetration, obviously. So, I mean, once you have this tank, you can basically do whatever. And again, if you look at the top left, everyone's spamming with premium ammo, which is also very annoying, and which is the thing that I like more about Blitz, as premium ammo does less damage. And the most important thing, there is no artillery. And that is the main reason why I kind of stopped playing much World of Tanks PC, because artillery exists, and when artillery is in a game, it always focuses you. That's kind of what happened to me. And as you can see right there, Ace, Radley Walters medal, steel wall, no surprise there, 9,078 damage just by playing this tank. And there are hundreds of replays like this, pretty much. 83,000 creds gone. Who cares anyway? And 6.3k damage blocked. It's crazy. It's not good.